A serious video. What could I possibly make a video about? What won't grow arms and legs? Perhaps medals. Oh god.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
Medals. An important part of any military is the recognition of campaigns or valued service, and this is often accomplished through medals. Every country does it differently, the British Army being arguably more stringent than our friends across the pond, for example. However it's done, medals are something to be proud of, and you'll often see them displayed by veterans during Remembrance Day, Memorial Days, and other prestigious events. Pull up a sandbag. Hello there. I'm Fastidious Lizard. In this video I intend to cover the full scope of medals within the British Army, how they work, what they mean, and how you are awarded them. Ever expanding and more complicated than you'd think, we will walk through some of the history, current campaign medals, doctrine as to how they are granted and awarded, and many subjects in between to get as detailed a view as I can give. For ease, I will cover only those medals available for issue to the British Army, as there are a number of bespoke awards for the Royal Navy and the Royal Air Force. Here we go on a deep dive into British Army medals. Believe it or not, military medals were not always awarded historically. In fact, despite being a fully formed institution since 1660, being formed upon the restoration of the Stuart monarchy to England, the British Army did not officially issue its first campaign medal until 1816, following the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. There were some medals prior, issued by individual battalions or awarded to senior general officers individually, but the first medal open to all and issued to all ranks, regardless of status, was the Waterloo Medal. It was to be identical for all, and was to be issued with the individual's number, rank and name inscribed upon it to make each award unique to each soldier. A sticking point at this stage was that soldiers had to be able to prove they were on the battlefield and present at the campaign. This award became more contentious when soldiers not at Waterloo, who had fought in equally important campaigns such as the War of 1812 in America and the Spanish Peninsular Wars, did not receive medals for their efforts. The real changing point was in 1847, when the military's General Service Medal was established with the approval of Her Majesty, Queen Victoria and Parliament. This act ensured awards for campaigns and for service of the common soldier of the British Army was to be routine. This was further cemented by the issuing of the Indian General Service Medal in 1854, laying the groundwork for a more standardised approach to GSMs. These medals would typically be awarded for the war, with key battles or campaigns added as bars to the medal. With the advent of the telegraph in the 1840s, near instant communication over long distances became possible. This meant that for the Crimean War, an innovation, the war correspondent, was conceived. The public and indeed the upper echelons of society were now able to hear the tales of soldiers halfway around the world as they happened. It was suggested that some form of decoration be created to award acts of valour. This led eventually to the most famous British medal, the Victoria Cross. Initially met with resistance from British Army commanders who were concerned men were more likely to go it alone for glory, the medal was envisioned to award outstanding bravery during combat actions, for which soldiers, regardless of rank, may be admissible. Covered in slightly more detail later in the video, Queen Victoria herself had to reach into the system to ensure that the decoration was fully embraced and instigated. This medal now established the precedent to reward distinct acts of bravery on top of the campaign medals for taking part. From here, medals were struck and issued by campaigns, as well as further awards for valour being instituted alongside the VC. During World War I, 3 medals were given for the campaign rather than 1 to acknowledge the distinct phases of the war. The 1914 to 1915 star was issued in recognition of the British Expeditionary Force's efforts, followed by the War Medal for those serving during the rest of the war, and finally the Victory Medal for those serving when the armistice was signed. This meant that for a veteran of the regular army that was present throughout the entire war, all 3 medals could be earned. The troops nicknamed these medals Pip, Squeak and Wilfred after a popular cartoon of the time. The diversity and complexity of World War II saw the instigation of a unique set of medals up to this time. Rather than a single medal for the entire war, with individual campaigns being awarded as bars, specific medals were awarded for each theatre to ensure that distinct campaigns, often separated by huge distances or time, were recognised. This led to the institution of campaign stars, as well as an overall war medal and the defence medal for those in the UK only, i.e. the Home Guard. 9 stars were awarded and are broken up as follows. The 1939 to 1945 star for any service overseas throughout the entire war. The Atlantic Star for service in the Battle of the Atlantic. The Aircrew Europe Star for aircrews conducting operational flights over Europe. The Africa Star for service during the North Africa Campaign, the Pacific Star for service in the Pacific Theatre, the Burma Star for service in Burma itself, the Italy Star for service in Sicily and Italy, the France and Germany Star for those who served in France, Belgium, Luxembourg, the Netherlands or Germany and adjacent sea areas between D-Day and the official German surrender, and the Arctic Star, which wasn't actually instituted until 2012 to recognise the service of sailors, often of the Merchant Navy, conducting the Arctic convoys to supply the Soviet Union. The most stars a single service person could be awarded was actually 6, with certain stars devolving into bars for similar campaigns. For example, if serving in the Pacific and then being posted to Burma, the soldier or sailor in question would receive the Pacific Medal, with Burma as a bar device. Notable examples of 2 Brits with numerous stars were Lord Louis Mountbatten and the late Prince Philip, both having 5. Since World War II, the awarding process has become fairly standardised, with British military campaigns being generally shorter or very distinct. Valour medals have also become fixed, and a set array of medals can be awarded depending on the acts of the soldier, judged by a panel of senior officers who review each citation. General Service Medals have seen 3 iterations since the First World War, the first covering from 1918 to 1962, the second from 1962 until 2008, and the latest covering from 2008 onwards. These awards are for wider campaigns with similar goals, such as peacekeeping in Northern Ireland and more recently, short-term training teams in East and West Africa. More bespoke campaigns still receive their own distinct medals, such as the Iraq Medal for service in the campaign between 2003 and 2011. Some campaigns are recognised with the award of Operational Service Medals, or OSMs. These have taken up some semblance of standardisation in their design, with the outer band of colour on the ribbon being changed for each distinct campaign. There are currently 4 OSMs, those being for Sierra Leone, Afghanistan, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Iraq and Syria for Operation Shader. An interesting tidbit, following the design for coins, each monarch since Charles II has taken turns to face left or right. Medals replicated this, with the monarch on the front of each medal facing the opposing direction to their forebear. This, however, has a notable exception, which makes it confusing to track this on the face of medals during the 20th century. Queen Victoria faces left, King Edward VII faces right, King George V faces left, and King Edward VIII broke this tradition and insisted he face left on his coins and thus medals too. He, however, abdicated early in his reign and no coins or medals were minted. This instruction is thus reverted as if he were facing right. King George VI thus faces left, as this follows the line as previous, ignoring the wishes of King Edward VIII. Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II faces right, and His Majesty the King Charles III will thus face left. What I will now cover is medals as they stand today, only covering campaigns since that of the Falklands War in 1982. This is because there are an endless number of British medals, and to cover them all would A. do them a disservice, and B. make this video hours long.